What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spotlight. We made it. Here we are, week one of the Spotlight, episode 1 of the Spotlight. I'm so excited that you're here. This is a conversation designed to unify the church and help you grow in your faith. And we're going to be looking into the Sunday morning sermon and diving a little bit deeper into that, asking questions, and quite frankly, we're going to do whatever else we feel like doing. It's going to be a good time. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. On Sunday morning, we preached from 2 Peter chapter 3. It's the last chapter in the book of 2 Peter, and we kind of boiled the whole thing down to this question right here. If Jesus were to return today, what would you want him to see you doing? And as I was preparing for the message, and I got to be honest with you, this is something that I hardly ever think about. I only thought about it for a handful of mornings as I was crafting the message for Sunday. But for the majority of my life following Jesus Christ, I didn't wake up in the morning going, okay, Jesus is coming back today. I need to live like he's coming back. And if I'm honest, and maybe if you're honest, you might be in the same boat as well, I hardly ever thought about it. It didn't influence my day-to-day life. And what's so fascinating is reading the New Testament, and not just the book of 2 Peter, but reading all throughout the New Testament. Paul and Jesus, they're always talking about live your life in such a way that reflects the truth of Jesus Christ could return at any moment. And if we were to live that way, what would Jesus see us doing if he returned? And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a church where Jesus was always looking for a way to get you in trouble, to bust you because you were doing the wrong thing. And so there was a lot of motivation by fear, and that was never a great motivator for me. It just wasn't. But I always felt like God was going to catch me doing something wrong, and then I would be in trouble, and then I would have to pray really, really hard for him to forgive me. And if he was having a good day, he would forgive me. And then the next day I would just try harder and harder and harder. And in fact, we camped out on this verse right here, 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. It says this, and remember, our Lord's patience gives people time to be saved. See, I grew up and I've been a Christian for a long time, and I just thought, well, I'm actually going to die before Jesus comes back because he's taking way, way too long. And the truth is, Jesus is being patient because he wants people to be saved, which means you and I have the opportunity, before he returns, we have the opportunity to go and share the greatest story ever told to people we're in contact with. We get to share the gospel message with people. And I can't think of a better time in history, at least in my lifetime, where people have been open, where people have had time, and where people are curious about what God might be up to. And so I think the challenge for you and I is to really take advantage of this opportunity and to go and share the gospel message with people, to share our story. The big church word for this, the stained glass window word for this, is the word evangelism. And as soon as I say that word, it may drop some connotations of, I don't know, you may be stressed, you may be anxious about it as soon as I bring that up. But the reality is, evangelism is just sharing our story, how we came to put our faith and trust in Jesus Christ and what he's doing in our life. And there's all these programs and all these methods, and maybe for you, you don't do it because you're afraid you're going to leave out like a crucial part in the gospel story, or you don't think you speak well, or whatever your reason is. And I just want to give you a couple suggestions here, 3 of them specifically. The first one is just be yourself. This is your relationship with Jesus Christ, not anyone else's. And so you're just sharing your experience. There's no right or wrong way to tell your story. You just tell your story the way that you've lived it and the way that you've experienced it. I think the second thing is pray for opportunities to appear. Don't try and force something to happen. If the conversation doesn't feel natural, don't force it, because it's not going to be received as a natural conversation from the person on the other end. They might feel manipulated. And that's the last thing you want when you're trying to share the gospel message with someone, with a friend, a family, a loved one. You don't want them to feel manipulated. You just want them to feel that this is a natural part of your relationship. So you be yourself, pray for opportunities to appear. And by the way, you'll know when it's the right opportunity. If you're hesitant about it, it's probably not the right opportunity. But there's probably going to be some sort of fire in your belly that says, now is the moment. Ask the question. Share the story. Start the conversation. And so I want you to seize that opportunity and go for it. And then the third thing is be yourself, pray for an opportunity. And the third thing is just share your story. What life was like before Jesus, the moment in time that you prayed the prayer, you decided to put your faith in Jesus Christ, you stepped over the line, whatever you want to say. But the time that you found Jesus and put your hope and trust in him. And then the last part of the story is, what's God doing in your life now? At the end of every one of our services, we give everybody 5 questions to go and answer. And so my prayer and hope is that you would have these conversations in your home with the people that you're quarantined with, and maybe even jump online or have a Zoom conversation with a handful of people and just have spiritual conversations. And so I thought if I'm going to ask you to do those, I ought to answer some of those questions as well. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you. The first question is really easy, very, very basic question. What's the best thing you did this week while quarantined? For me, it was kayaking on Lake Whatcom. It was a beautiful day. Sun was out. The wind wasn't blowing. And so I took my son, Nolan, and we hopped in a kayak, and we just went for it, man. We were splashing. And yeah, the water was freezing cold. But to see him, as we're sitting in the kayak, turn around and smile from ear to ear and just laugh, it was one of those moments where it just seemed like everything was right in the world. And so for a brief moment, there was just this beautiful joy and laughter that only a 5-year-old has. That's probably the best thing I did. The second question is this: describe a time when you waited for God to do something. It usually takes a while, doesn't it? I About a year and a half ago, my wife and I looked at each other and said, hey, I think God's up to something in our lives. I think our family is going to be disrupted. Our way of life is going to look different. So we started praying through that. And we knew it was going to involve ministry. We were pretty sure it was going to involve a move, but we weren't sure where or when or how or what that was all going to look like. So I started interviewing at churches, knowing that God had something else in store for us, and we were on to the next assignment. And so we prayed, and I interviewed, and that, like I said, was a year and a half ago. And 6 months into it, I just hit a wall. My wife is probably stronger than I am in this regard, but she can stay focused on the prize at the end. And I just hit a wall and was like, God, what are we doing? Are we wasting time? What are we waiting for? What's going to happen? Well, the end of the story is that I'm here. I'm part of the North County team, and it is so much fun. In God's hand, I can look back in the rearview mirror of life, and I can see his hand along the way, closing doors that needed to be closed, and encouraging my wife to encourage me to say, hey, keep going. I'm up to something big here. You just got to wait. And it's so funny. The prayers that we prayed along that year and a half journey have gotten us to where we are today. And when I tell you we are so excited, we are so excited to be here, and we can't wait to play a small part in the big, big plan of God up here in North County. So, man, we are so stoked to be here. And then the last question is this, number 3, what do you think about the phrase, everyone lives better when someone else is watching? And what I think about the phrase is, I don't like the phrase. It's true. I don't like the idea of people watching me. It just feels like, I don't know, like they're looking to get me in trouble for some reason. They're going to put me in timeout and send me to my room. I'll be grounded for a month or whatever. But it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. We all live better when someone else is watching. And the truth is that Jesus is watching. And again, he's not looking to put us in timeout or get us in trouble or anything like that. He's looking to watch us, to strengthen us, to encourage us, to help us choose right from wrong, to guide us through this life. And so as you're living your life, as you're going through your daily routine, and obviously it's changed now because of the whole quarantine and COVID-19 thing, he's watching you, and he's looking for ways to strengthen you and come alongside of you and encourage you because he loves you. That's what he does. And so I simply want to leave you with this. You have a God that's watching you because he cares deeply about you. He wants to help you. He wants to love you. He wants a relationship with you. It's who he is. It's what he does. So be encouraged. Live your life. Know that Jesus is watching, not because he's mad, but because he loves you. He cares for you. And he wants to guide you. So in closing, thank you so much for being here on the Spotlight. Man, I love you. Go in peace, be encouraged, and by all means, let's keep talking. Thanks for being here.